All right, welcome in everyone to another deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, it's kind of interesting. I think at least it's interesting to me. We're going to be looking at India and specifically the major push that we're seeing from conglomerates like, big names Adani and Birla into the wires and cables market.
Okay.
And our source for today is an explainer that was published on March 21st, 2025, so just a couple days ago. And yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to kind of unpack why exactly these giants are making these moves into wires and cables. I mean, it seems like a pretty, traditional sector. So what's the deeper story there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you see these big players
Yeah.
making moves into a sector that's as specific as like wires and cables, right, it really does make you wonder, like, what's their game? What are they thinking? What's the
Oh, yeah.
logic there?
What's the strategic kind of thought process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, diving into the explainer a little bit, one of the first things that jumps out is the just massive scale of infrastructure development that's happening in India right now that's planned for the future.
We're talking huge urbanization trends, expansion of power grids and including renewables, like a big push for renewables, and then also the just ever-growing demand for better telecommunications
Mm.
networks.
Yeah.
All of this relies on having a really strong and reliable supply of wires and cables.
I mean, it's a foundational need.
It's like the veins and arteries of like all this infrastructure.
Right.
So it's very, very critical.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, if we connect this back to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
you can really see that these conglomerates are positioning themselves to be, just absolutely integral to India's growth story.
Yeah.
I mean, this demand for these components isn't just, stable. It's poised for like truly explosive growth in the coming years. And, I think considering that these companies are already involved in energy and infrastructure projects, they probably have a really, a uniquely good view into what that demand is going to look like.
Yeah, they have their ear to the ground for
Yeah.
sure. And it's not just about the just the raw volume, right? I mean, the explainer also points to like a growing need for more specialized and advanced types of cables.
Yeah.
You've got high voltage transmission lines that are crucial for, for renewables. You've got these really sophisticated data cables for, for the internet, the growing digital economy.
Right.
And all of these require very specific materials and manufacturing processes.
Absolutely.
So, it's not just about making more of the same old, same old. It's about really upping the game and meeting this new demand for high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, right? Because these are huge players, and why would they focus on something that seems so, uh, you know, not glamorous,
Right.
but so essential? Like why wires and cables?
I think part of it has to do with the fact that, this demand for these components is actually incredibly stable.
Yeah.
We're talking about infrastructure projects that are built to last for decades.
Right.
And, as long as that infrastructure is there, it needs wires and cables.
Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for these conglomerates who are looking for those really dependable revenue streams,
Yeah.
right, and a base for that sustained growth that they're looking for, this sector has a lot of appeal.
Sure.
And, sure, it's not, maybe the flashiest industry,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely vital. And it's not nearly as susceptible to these rapid cyclical downturns that you see in other industries.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, to kind of think about more broadly, what are the kind of implications of these players getting into this space? It seems like more than just, oh, they're adding a new business line.
Right.
Like, what's the bigger picture here?
Yeah.
I mean, one thought that comes to mind is potential consolidation within the industry.
Right.
And also, maybe a stronger push for like standardization and technological advancement because these companies, they have huge resources, so they can really pour money into R&D, into, improving the manufacturing processes, and even into like material science to make those specialized cables that we were talking about.
Yeah, but this is a really big deal for the companies that are already operating in this market.
Absolutely.
I mean, how are they going to adapt to this kind of, influx of competition?
Right.
We might see, some increased competition, which could actually be good for consumers because you get innovation and better quality products.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to be really challenging for the smaller players to hold on to their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have these conglomerates coming in with these huge logistics networks
Yeah.
and these large-scale procurement operations,
Right.
they can get raw materials for much cheaper than a smaller company ever could.
Yeah. Economy of scale, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating to see this seemingly traditional sector being recognized as just so important to the economy. It's not just like, oh yeah, wires and cables, whatever. It's like, no, this is critical, and these big players are putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, and I think that brings us back to that initial idea that, this isn't just some minor development. This is something that could be really transformative for the industry.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And on that note, it gets you thinking, right? Like, we often focus on these high-tech industries when we think about innovation.
Yeah.
But what about these other industries that are kind of established, maybe a little bit overlooked? Are there other areas out there that are ripe for this kind of, large-scale investment and maybe, kind of a fundamental transformation that really changes the way things are done?
Right.
What other hidden potential is out there in these sort of everyday building blocks of the economy?
It's a great question.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Happy to be here.
I think it was really interesting stuff. And yeah, until next time.